For the first 3 weeks of the Division Cup, all 3 of the team strategies have been the same. Go here. You just go in the middle of the 5th zone. You play Storm, you avoid Storm Surge, you avoid taking damage. You just go here, and that gives you fastest rotates to wherever you go. However, Th0masHD and Focus do something slightly different in this tournament when they week number 4. When they won week number 4, I can't speak. So let's jump into it. All right, their drop spot of choice is Ripped Tides, which is now, what, 4 weeks in a row we've got like an edge map team winning. So in week 1, we had Sky and Scroll from Battlewood Boulevard. Then we had Teeny and Shark from Wonky Land. Then last week we had Yapko Panzer from Painted. And now we've got Ripped Tides with Focus and Shark. So a lot of the theories, again, of mid-map being good in this new Surge meta, I don't think are particularly true at all. 4 of 4 weeks has been an edge map team who's ended up winning. So it's time to do our weekly Did They Get Good Zones RNG as well. This is game 1 that we're about to watch. Absolutely not. That's a full maxer that they've pulled all the way across. Well, maybe not full max, but you get the gist. Game 2, again, similar kind of zone up to the north, a little bit more favorable. I mean, it's not really favorable. It's kind of like a mid-map zone, but it was north, then mid-map. Game number 3, unsurprisingly, their best match. Yes, that definitely favored them a little bit. Game number 4, absolute stinker for them. Could not have been more of a max pool all the way up. Game 5, another lucky pool for them, being close to the drop spot. Then game 6, they got another really lucky pool, but they actually did really badly this game and only got 43rd. So really, they got like 3 good zones, 3 bad zones, but most of their good point games are actually in the bad zone matches. Now, if you don't know, you probably should by this point, but the stakes in Ripped Tides are what allows you to do the max 505 kilo deadlift. You only really need to eat actually 3 of them. There's 6 total across the actual drop spot that allow you to do it easy, but 3 allows you to pick it up in like, I think it's like 10 seconds or something. Here's Thomas grabbing the first one, the second, the third, and he's also, I kind of missed out there, got so much gold in this drop spot. So he builds it off to protect himself, and then this should only take like 10 seconds. It takes, I can't remember, is it 10 minutes or 5 minutes if you don't take any of the stakes? So obviously, like any pro at high level is going to do this, and he managed to get the mythic pump from this, which he does actually drop to Focus. So, I mean, you know, you got to think Th0masHD is a guy hitting bangs with a shotgun, but giving it to Focus, you know, respect. It is only a 33% chance, so, you know, I don't know how many of these games they get it in, but on average in a 6-game tournament, they're going to get it twice. Let's see how much gold there is in this drop spot as well. On average, they're getting 5.6 cash registers and 0.42 saves, but I actually think, because of the spawn rate, that is obviously, I think he's already opened 2 of them so far, so tons and tons and tons of gold. And then with all of that gold mending machine, I mean, there's no sweeter mending machine to find, or vending machine to find, than a gold pump vending machine. So gold pump and then mythic pump on Focus. So really, I mean, they're set up for some bangs this match. They actually only get 4 elims in this entire match, so, you know, they play very, very passively. Unsurprisingly, that's kind of what a lot of the best teams are doing right now in Div Cups. But if you get anyone close, ability to hit some bangs is nuts. Now they're buying a bunch of bigs. What we got? Camped bigs, camped medkits, and then minis and bigs here. So no fizz. Fizz is in this, right? Yeah. No fizz right now. Maybe just unlucky. Now, as you already know, a lot of the strategies across the last 3 weeks have been basically exactly the same. Play Storm and go into like the center, slightly in the dead side of the 5th zone. That's almost what every single team has done so far. So I want to see exactly how, well, I was going to say how Th0masHD and Focus are doing that. The real question is, are they doing that strategy at all? And how does it differ? How will it work in comparison to the previous 3 weeks winners? So what a lot of teams have been doing is, you know, we're currently in, where's the zone? We're in the 3rd zone. What a lot of players have been doing is waiting to the 2nd and 3rd zone and then going back into the Storm. You know, from Ripped Tides, obviously Ripped Tides, you know, down here, they could have sat and played Storm, but now it's actually already at Rax's team who's rotated in at this point. But they've gone all the way up to Bumpy Bay, and they're currently lurking on Twy and Cringe, who are currently lurking on Maris and iDrop. So we've got like a double layered lurk right now. Here we go. They're on the rotate. That is an underwhelming bang, I must say, from there. A little bit of surge, but, you know, nothing major. So the strategy they've been doing, I actually really quite like here. So everyone's playing Storm. Like, as we can see, there's so many people playing Storm because that has just been the meta for, I mean, for like 2 years. So they've actually just been playing the edge of the zone. Who are they shooting right now? Yeah. They've actually just been playing the edge of the Storm the whole time here, like right across the 3rd zone, and just staying ahead of all these teams. And anytime they see any of these people rotating through Storm, they just take a shot. So, like, they have priority. Like, they can still rotate anytime they want. Like, if they were stuck here, they might have to get, you know, past all these players. And now it seems like they're playing Storm. So rather than actually sitting and playing Storm from like 2nd zone, like a lot of the other teams are doing, they're rotating slightly deeper into the center zone so that they're ahead of all these other players. And then they're farming them for Surge here, as we see. So they're already like 400 above. They've taken literally 0 damage so far. Not a single player shot them yet. And I don't know how much they've dealt. Like, I don't know, maybe 100, 2, 3, 400. They're 400 above there, but I think they've only dealt like, I don't know, maybe 200-300 damage to this point. But interesting strat. So again, what a surprise. Back in Storm for another team, but slightly different from the previous weeks. Each popped a medkit, and then unsurprisingly, buying more medkits. Thomas had like infinite gold, and now he has 0. So they've actually played through in buying the gold pump that they had and the big pots, and now the medkits as well. They've pretty much used all of that gold. So, you know. All right, now the 5th zone has popped up. What a surprise. This is a very similar strategy we've seen before. So I want to see where they actually position themselves here. There's a few really important parts, right? I want to like take this time to explain the strategy a little bit more because it is the key fundamental from everyone that every team is using right now. So if you position yourself here, you get the easiest rotate to any zone, no matter where it pulls. The thing is though, if you actually go full Deadside, so say you're going to play all the way over on this side of the zone, if you then have to pull back over here, you're dead out the sky, basically, if you use a jetpack. You know, most people are rotating by foot, but you're going to be held because remember, everyone's going to be in this area. So if you position yourself all the way over here, you kind of goosed. So by going close to the center, even if zone pulls back, you give yourself the best opportunity possible there. What most teams have been doing the last 3 weeks, if you haven't watched any of my last 3-week winners videos, what are you doing, by the way? They've basically positioned themselves in this sort of center zone and then, you know, priority rotating to every other one. So I want to see what Focus and Th0masHD will do because they're coming from the south side. There's a lot of people in their way. So let's have a look. All right, the first thing that I really like is that they're not just wingsuiting in the storm right now. They're actually just using wood. For reference, this is their current position close to storm. Obviously, there's still a lot of players around them, but rather than taking like a big jetpack here, there's obviously a big risk to that. So instead, they're just rotating by foot, tagging anyone that they can, and then just using their wood because they can refarm it still in the storm at the same time. Then jetpack right into storm. That right there, that 47 damage that Focus took, that is actually the first damage they've taken through this entire game so far. So, you know, in a storm surge meta where net damage really matters, you know, that is super important. Now, they've not played the center. As you notice, they managed to stay on the edge here. This is also a great position. I mean, in this particular match, there's so much congestion in this area. But if you remember, like we said previously, you know, the dead side would be from this side onwards. All the players are rotating down here. If you put yourselves into the corner, I can't remember, I used to have a name for this, I can't remember what I used to call it, but into the corners here, there's going to be a lot of players who try to rotate past here. So if you're into the corner of where the previous zone would be, you kind of still get the advantage of being in the center because you can rotate, you know, freely this way if you need be, but you also have the position to hold other players who are trying to go into the dead side to tag them a bunch. So I imagine that's exactly kind of what we're doing here. This position is still the best, but honestly, in this match, like where you see so many people on, you know, congestion already with no one on the dead side outside of Malabuka because of like the hills, right? There's just water here. This is super open. This is actually a really good spot for this particular zone. Obviously, they can also refarm. You know, mid game, one of the best, most important parts is just not draining through your materials. So being in a spot right here where they've already got like enough damage, they're not taking enough, not taking too much in return, so they can just sit and reharvest, like works a lot. And the next zone pulls up north. Now, what we've been seeing previously from all of our other winners has basically been an instant rotate. For them, they're kind of focusing on looking for tags and the players near them. Because they have access here to this side of zone, they had the freedom to like rotate as quick as they possibly could here. And that's what a lot of the dead side teams are doing. You can see, right, Cringe and Twy already gone. Rigby's team's gone. Nathan's gone. All these teams who have priority are instantly rotating and going. Very interesting choice that they decide to actually wingsuit here rather than just rotate by foot. They can do that though because they're going again on the dead side and it pulls towards dead side again. So everyone here, smart. You know, if you're in a lower elo lobby, you know, not everyone is so smart as to quickly rotate here, but obviously some of the best players in the world, that's a safe wingsuit to take. And now I imagine we're going to see a little bit more wood. Yeah, a little bit more wood use just to rotate in, try and minimize the damage taken, and reusing these old builds from Nathan and Nebs is also a very nice way. I wonder if they're just going to stay low. I think they probably are here, the way that it looks like they're rotating here. They are in on this low side, which is kind of rough, right? Like they pulled a rough zone. This is a huge mountain. Like you have some of the best players, like you have Malabuka. Obviously, this is his drop spot, just sitting way up on their hill. Hopefully, they don't have a team land on top of their head. Almost wherever the zone pulls, if it pulls north, this is going to be an insanely rough rotate for them, where they're almost definitely going to lose HP. Like it's just kind of the way the zones have pulled from here. I don't know how they would have played this any differently outside of potentially, you know, trying to predict that the zone's going to pull here and rotate all the way here in Deadside earlier. I don't know if that would have been the play. I feel like that's like a queasy play. I feel like he did that in globals in one of the matches and then it just didn't work out and they ended up dying. So sometimes the zones just pull that way. Where's it going to go? Let's have a look. It pulls to the west, so it does go up. They have the opportunity to stay down, but obviously a lot of the teams are going to want to go up here. So let's see how they end up rotating this. All right, so the rotate is pretty simple. They basically waited until someone went. You can see there's so many players flying through the sky. Luckily, you know, if no one went, it would have been a bit shambles, but they basically hugged this mountain here and then landed a little early, ramped up to go over all the other players who are down there. And I think what's happened to Thomas? I think Thomas has kind of got a little split, but he's still pretty close. They just spend his time as a solo. I think they'll get back together later. So very nice rotate. They just waited for everyone else to go and then made sure they were in that cluster. It's kind of like the same way that basically everyone is wingsuiting all of the time, right? If you go by yourself, you're gonna die. So there's waited. All right, zone pools entirely max for the whole lobby. Now, because they've not gone deeper, right? This is one of the things that, and most of these partial zones you really want to be doing, you want to go to a position like Twine Cringe did here, where they went way deeper into zone. Now, obviously, they rotated earlier in one of the previous zones, so they had like priority every single rotate, but they're stuck at the backside. Focus attempts to make a play here where he tarps out, as you can notice. And the goal here makes a lot of sense because in his mind, you're like, if I'm stuck at the backside, I'm going to be the first one to rotate. Plus, as you can see, there's a lot of stuff all over on top of him, right? Like there's a bunch of boxes. There's going to be nowhere really for him to rotate from here. But because he's just instantly building at the same time, they start to get absolutely lobby focused by everyone. And Pixie's already getting lobby focused at the back and just dies at the same time. So, you know, focus was on around 85 builds, and now he's down to 40 because of that rotate or because of that play. And they're basically just stuck in the same spot as they were there. So now I think they have to drop. How are they gonna make this rotate? Little shambles. They just drop, hope for the best, and just kind of rotate the same time as everyone else. In this first moving zone to the 8th zone, in all honesty, when it pulls max, there's not a huge... honestly, I don't think that was that great of a play because there's not a huge amount of opportunity for you to get beamed on the first moving zone when it pulls completely max when no one's set up on height, right? So I think that ended up just being a little bit waste of materials, but I see the vision. All right, now, way less materials, down to 44 and 25 for Thomas. He just split there. Because of that rotate, so they've split a bunch, so they're going to need to look for a refresh. So I want to see how they end up actually getting one. They do manage up picking one here in a second to keep them moving. Good awareness here to see through this broken wall that wall, the backside, just got edited. So there's someone lurking on them. So you can see it's been replaced. So they start looking through, crouching. I like how here he's also peeking just through the edit, through the gap here. He's not like, you know, just editing and peeking to wait because he's trying to make sure these guys don't know that he's actually here. So then I think they crouch up. They still have some of the edit control here. Hits a pretty minimum. And then just goes for the nice little pre-fire on and gets the Elam onto Louis Mont LeBlanc, wine enjoyer. Thomas goes to the other side, hits a bang, and that's 2 down. So the refresh there is what? 100 builds? So now they got like 60 out of that total, I think. And then zone pulls max again. All right, so they're dropping. They drop a lot of layers. Thomas getting pumped in the back. It's a little tough to follow a tarp when you drop a lot of the times, I will say, though. Down to 100 HP. Players onto the wall. Sprint drop down. Ooh, that's what I mean. When you're dropping layers, it's so easy to die like that. I think that's twice in a row that they chose to drop down, and then Thomas got pumped as the one following. Now, is he going to get the res off? Zone pullback is absolutely... That's beautiful RNG. Tommy's back up in it. So the first time Thomas got pumped, not really his fault. I mean, there's a lot missing. It's not like they're doing a full tarp, right? They're just kind of bumping their heads using the fizz. So this is a good rotate. Like, I think this path was really good. They went around the side where there's not many people. No one's really looking at them. Like, this is good. It's just that repairs was sitting in a cone at the back and hit Thomas with a pump. So I don't think this was like a bad tarp or a bad layer or anything. I just think this was pretty good, right? They dropped down from above, chose a good layer, and then tarped. Just Thomas just got pumped in the back, unfortunately, because I mean he was sitting in a cone at the backside with no loop. However, this one I don't like as much, right? There's players in front, so Focus didn't scout this rotate at all. Firstly, like this wall has or had Chino and Pablo in it. Maybe I don't know if he noticed that they rotated frontside. I'm not sure, but they basically just edited out and then sprinted down a layer. And then tarped, right? There was absolutely no consideration to kind of block the front as he rotated down here, which just made Thomas get pumped. So, you know, in that, I was going to say in that scenario, you jump out and place a cone, which would have made sense, but Shakos did end up looking through this angle here. I think had he scouted from there, maybe could have placed a wall, done something to protect himself as he dropped down a layer, but unfortunately, it wasn't the worst play by any means. Yeah, it wasn't a great tarp either. You can see the micro decision. So he hits Chino there. You can see Chino's backed off. And he just insta runs out and then drops and connects. So, like, that's fine if you're playing solo, but in that kind of scenario, I think you do need to kind of cover the front in some way because you just kind of leave your player behind to end up pumped. Anyway, you did get him up, but obviously I'm focusing on this a little bit, no pun intended. At the same time, that's kind of the mistakes that can lose you a match where, you know, if you're a tarper, you want to make sure the guy who's behind you, who's going to be slightly delayed and staggered, also, you know, can do something. Thomas also could have just placed something as he dropped down there. Like, he could have placed a wall to protect himself as well. So it's not just Focus, it's just both of them. All right, top 15. Sitting in, managed to get his HP back up, sitting in a cloud. Sees player on the wall. Not a great look. Not a great time to pickaxe, I will be honest. Luckily, Focus has most of the mats. Thomas actually did 4 builds there, and I'm not sure why they didn't give him any. But they've come back to their old builds. Now he's managed to get himself up. Trying to think, bit of an odd angle. Honestly, in Endgame, I don't know. Obviously, it's a bad play because it got him killed. But at the end of the day, you're finding a Chino. Sometimes you get an insta-edit one bang there. All right, so from Chino's perspective, he sees 2 players running past. It's not a good look, I'll be honest. It's also not a great edit. Like, when you see 2 people running past and you just do a 50-50 edit lat. He does hit the bang, though. He hits the bang. Respect to him. He manages to get it. One thing pros do really well is that they don't really overcomplicate things a lot of the time. So if you see here, Nosif gets stuck in the cone. And, you know, a lot of players in this scenario would like try full box, make sure he's got a place to drop down so he can't get out. But he's currently getting sprayed from the roof. So he just pickaxes, gets cracked, and then just pumps him. Like, he's not wasting a bunch of mats trying to box him in case he doesn't drop down into it. Like, what if he got out there? He's probably wasted like 4 or 5 builds just trying to like full box the pillar below. So he just pickaxes and pumps him and then gets the siphon materials from that. And then he can continue rotating. He also absolutely should be dead by now. And he absolutely should have died here. You get the double edit. Miss. Oh, come on. Fade, my boy faded. No. Oh, I gotta watch it. Doubles. Nowhere near. Misses. He's 1 HP. No. Oh, well, Faded made up for it. He did well in this Div Cup, I think. I can't remember. And then he called to EWC, so we'll give him a little break. Almost gets the knock onto Gonzo. Sees his Perdage there. Goes to the edit reset. Hits the 115. It's a good play. If he, you know, with a mythic pump, you could have gone for the bang, but unfortunately, that's him out. All right, so I just want to look at their positions throughout most of the other games. This is game number 2. Almost exactly the same style of position. This is kind of what I mean where, you know, if you're in this corner spot, you can cut off people from going Deadside. There's a big hill here, so ideally you'd be, you know, just forgetting like the rest of the zone. You'd be in this kind of area here. But on this terrain, like this is a hill, and then this is at the bottom. So like this is probably going to be better generally because you can actually have more sight lines, etc. So, you know, kind of a similar position, not like going full center. You know, unsurprisingly, Sky and Scroll is in the center of the zone. In game number 3, this is the zone where they pulled it on their drop spot, so they don't really need to play partial much. They basically sat on this hill like the whole game, and then zone pulled next to them, so they don't really have like a choice. All right, so this is kind of what I mean. Like if you have good zone RNG, or if you're someone who's been playing center of the earlier zones, right? If you scroll out a little, there was what relatively centered of 3rd, and then they pulled 4th, and then, you know, zone pulls here. They don't really have an opportunity to go into like that good position here from there, because like how are they going to make, unless they like make a full rotate out of storm and then in, which I don't really think would make a huge amount of sense. So in this 5th zone, they kind of just easily rotated in. They got this position and then had like a max zone. They played a med kit here to get through and then flew up. In this game, which actually was not one of their most successful games, this was their 2nd worst match, which is match number 4. You can see they're playing storm a little bit more. They did pretty much the same strat as they did previously, and then they rotate in somewhat closer to the center here. So this time not playing on the like this hill where Jerdy is. That would have actually been pretty good, but a good spot. And then they got a lucky pull after that. Game 5, kind of similar, right? Playing edge of zone here as they have been before, so they can tag players who are playing storm, and then zone pulls right on them. They're in this kind of similar position here yet again. This is like the 3rd game, and this is like another successful match for them where they're playing on the edge of the partial. And in this game, they die early. Like the video, subscribe, peace.